very much. Hey. So, I used to wear a bra. Such a relief to get that off my chest. I'd look better if I lost some weight, but I want women to love me for my money. People started asking me if I'm pregnant. Tell them it's John Smith. He said he loved me. But I'm not bitter. I'm stout. I do work out. I spent an hour last night on the cross trainer. Well, to begin with, he was just cross. But after an hour of doing this with his legs, he was livid. I'm doing a PhD. That stands for Pizza Home Delivery. I love fast food, so I attached a snowplow to the front of my car. Now every restaurant's a drive-through. I've got a Mini Cooper. It's like a Tommy Cooper, but smaller. It goes just like that. I've got a paranoid camera. It's terrified of overexposure. I often mix up the rumba and the mambo. I end up dancing like Rambo. Sometimes I mix up the flamenco and the tango, and I dance like a flamingo. Once, I mixed up the fandango and the tango, but they both end in ango, so the tango cancelled out of the fandango, and I was left dancing the fanta, which is the same as tango. I reprimanded a monk for wiping his nose on his sleeve. I said, that's a filthy habit. You cheeky monk. China has a population of 1.3 billion. So the Chinese government enforces a strict one-child per couple rule. I don't think they've thought this through. In just one generation's time, China is going to be a nation of 650 million spoiled bastards! So you guys haven't allowed to talk. You Germans? I've got a fantastic German joke. Okay. Ich bin so ein richtiger Pechvogel, wenn ich in einen Supermarkt reingehe und zwei Schlangen gibt, dann gib mir die giftige. You've heard it. I've had a rough week. I found a lump on my left testicle. I showed it to my GP. He says he thinks it might be my right testicle. I also had a rectal examination. It was quite tricky writing an exam with a pen clenched between my buttocks. I had the oral exam straight after. Wish I'd brought a second pen. You know, when I told my parents I was doing stand-up comedy, my mother jumped into a vat of concentrated hydrochloric acid. It wasn't the reaction I was expecting. My dad reacted more positively. He gave me a bear hug. He said, Dad, please, put on some clothes. My dad's Scottish, so my mum wears the trousers. My mum's English. She oppresses my dad. And when I was about 6 years old, I asked my dad if Santa could bring me a transformer for Christmas. Dad laughed. He told me Santa was dead, that he'd fallen down a chimney and broken his neck. Imagine my surprise when on Christmas morning I checked my stocking, and there at the bottom was a transformer. An electrical transformer, mains alternating to direct current. Dad said its name was Electron. As I had to take it out of the box, Dad said, don't play with that, son, it's not a toy. I began to think my father might be a Decepticon. My dad teaches English, but he's from Glasgow. He can't even speak English. He's taught in Saudi Arabia for the best part of 40 years. Right now there are generations of Arabs in the Saudi desert greeting strangers with the words, hello, how do you do, nice to meet you. See you, Ahmed. Do you want to see my bonny wee camel? Hoot man, it's camel loose about this hoose. You can take a hummus, but you'll never take a freedom. I was born overseas, in a hovercraft. I grew up in Saudi Arabia. Because my primary school was in the desert, we didn't have a sand pit. We had a grass pit. I used to build grass castles. The older boys would kick grass in my face and steal my grass switches. Later on, I went to a private boarding school in Blackpool. So I'm quite posh, but quite scummy. I'm a bit like Princess Stephanie of Monaco in that respect. You know what they say about bald men? No hair. I once went to a fancy dress party in a Superman costume. Everyone wanted to know why Lex Luthor was wearing Superman's clothes. I went bald because I highlighted my hair with a highlighter pen. People tell me I look like a cross between Moby, Dr. Evil, and Gail Porter. Yeah, that's so mean. She suffers from the same affliction I do. She's bald. Okay, yes. Okay. So she's on. You might have noticed my head is quite pointy. It's kind of embarrassing to explain why, but my head was stuck for several hours in my mother's birth canal. I only wish I could say I got stuck there during birth. I'm thinking about having a hair transplant from my chest, but I'd look pretty stupid with nipples on my forehead. People call me tit-head enough as it is. I was going to end on that. Right, think fast. Yeah, I read in the paper today that a man's body was found under a ladder in a pool of spilt salt. In his hand was a broken mirror. Police say they're treating the man's death as superstitious. And I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.